here, I just wanted to let you know before we start this, it is also being recorded as a podcast as well. So this audio will be converted and uploaded as part of the Streamline podcast. But as for right now, this is live and we are recording, so you can interact, you can leave comments. That being said, let's get straight into it. Welcome to the Streamline podcast. My guest today is Simon Field, a producer from Norway and one of my favorite curators as well. I know Simon did not want me to say that because he's very humble, but we're going to get into the production side as well as the curation side. But firstly, Simon, welcome.
Thank you, Mike, and happy Christmas.
Yeah, happy Christmas. Happy holidays to everyone that's listening. It's kind of a miracle that I was able to get you at this time of year. It's the music industry doesn't completely shut down, but a lot of people do like to switch off, spend a little time with family, or trying to get their inbox back to zero. So I appreciate you being here.
Well, right back at you. I think this was a very good time. Nice and quiet. Really nice.
Absolutely. So Simon, for anyone that's not familiar with you, let's focus on Simon Field, the producer and DJ, first and foremost. Could you tell us a little bit about where you got your start and what you've been up to?
So my artist alias, or my artist name, actually came to life about 3 to 4 years ago. Before that, I've been producing, writing, and playing as a live musician with other people. I've done loads of pop records, loads of hip hop, actually too much hip hop, so I got it up to here. And some years ago, I went into to a listening session with some tracks, and the label wanted simply to release them as they were. And I went, we don't have an artist. Well, you can be the artist. So that's how I became the artist. Basically, short story.
Wow.
But
right place, right time.
I kind of always wanted it because I always ended up having the tracks different. Well, the release always turned out different to what I wanted it. So I was really happy about that. You know, keep the demo as it is and just release it. So it's a good start.
Yeah, that's a great start. And it's, that's really sort of led you to get the attention of not just myself, but many other people out there. Obviously, having a keen ear for production and doing some very strong collaborations with other creators as well, whether it's singer-songwriters or even other producers. You've really been consistent in putting out that great quality music. And, you kind of skipped over something that I didn't even know until I was reading about you earlier. You've actually had some placements with your music in film or TV, I believe.
Yes, I do. Actually, quite a bit, and that has been kind of my main income up to a certain point. It's really well paid, and because I have a big catalog of unreleased tracks, I could leave that with a publisher, and they would start placing it. And at one point, I got really, really good placements out of that. So I think the most known show I've been in was Californication. Also been in Hollywood movies like Passengers with Chris Pratt.
Very cool.
And a whole lot of other shows, basically. And there's more to come. There's some really nice placement coming up.
That's exciting as well. It's it's something that I feel like more people are starting to pay attention to now as well. With access to information that we have today, access to insights on where your music's getting used, where your music could be best suited. I feel like it is, I don't want to say it's becoming easier. You've still got to put in the work, but there's a lot of opportunities out there to find the best place for your music. And whether that is with a film and reaching out to try and find a way to get the attention of that music supervisor, or whether it is somebody that does work in sync and you can see what they've placed previously. There's so much information out there that's really beneficial and can help artists to get an understanding of where that music could work. Are you working with a publisher, or are you sort of putting this out yourself?
This is a long story, but I was on, I was on a writing session in LA where I met a whole bunch of publishers. One of them being a publisher with a small company who later moved to Disney as music advisor, and now he's in a new company, very small one, but he's taking care of my catalog as far as film placement is concerned. And what I do normally is do a derivative license. So basically, because I own the rights, I rename the track to license it to that purpose.
Okay, very cool.
So I have to meet myself in court, if anyone.
Very nice. So, you know, obviously we talked about the sync across film and TV. Outside of that, you know, you don't just spend your time in the studio. You get out and also you put the headphones on and DJ, and you do live sets as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. Just before we jumped into this, we were having a conversation, and I do want to get to the curation side, but I'm purposely leaving that till last because I know that that's going to be a very long part of the conversation. Yeah. But you mentioned how a playlist is different to a live set as a DJ. And obviously, I'd love you to expand on that a little and talk about some of the differences in what a DJ set looks like for you, or a live set versus a playlist.
Sure. So there are definitely similarities and definitely some issues that are very different. So the similarities would be the preparation that you need a whole bunch of tracks to choose from. You need to pick a style or a mood that you should cover that night, and that sort of things. A playlist is actually more static than a live set because you need to think about people coming into the playlist. Think about starting with something familiar, so so you're sure they get the idea what this style is about. Whether if you have people in the room, you can go crazy right away just to get their attention with something they never heard. And also the order of the playlist definitely is very similar to what you do with a live set. You need good transitions, good coherent vibes throughout, so people don't get scared or skip or click to another playlist, because any playlist on Spotify is just one click away. I think you can take more chances live, actually, to be honest. You can do more crazy stuff, and you can try out stuff. The great thing about live, obviously, you see that people are reacting to the music. You cannot do that on a playlist. So also with live, you need much more songs prepared before the set. So in case the night goes one way or the other, you have to adjust. Whereas with the playlist, you just have to stick with what you have. There are things that I've noted. You know, long songs don't work on playlists. In a live set, you can play the drop and go to the next song. So there might be some beautiful drops and parts in some songs that should have been on a playlist, but there are just too much nothing before and after that, you know, or stuff that's not interesting to listen to in a sofa.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned as well being able to actually see live real-time reactions from people as you play a song. Obviously, if you clear the floor and people start walking out of the venue, you can very quickly put a new song on and get them straight back. With a playlist, your audience is scattered around the world. They're not in one location. It's sunny where someone is. It's cold and wintry where someone else is. You don't know what part of the song necessarily is going to work with different people. So, yeah, it is interesting.
And you don't know if people shuffle or not shuffle, or if they start in the middle of the playlist, or if they copy the playlist over to their own library or whatever they do. You have no idea.
Exactly. It's you know, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm a shuffler, and that doesn't mean I do the Melbourne shuffle. That literally means when I play a playlist, I put it on shuffle. I assume that every song that's in there is going to work no matter what the order is. And you know, even with DJ sets, I don't play as much nowadays, but there would be a folder of music for different times of the night, different vibes. If a different crowd showed up, I would be ready, and I would know that I could pluck a song out of that folder and it would work at that time with that crowd.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool.
Absolutely. So I was just going to say that, I was mentioning sofa listeners, but I think that kind of takes us into the playlist thing. And one other thing I really consider when I curate for at least my Ibiza playlist is that they are, I call them sofa clubbers. So I picture this couple, a guy with a girl, and she really wants pop music and he wants club music. So that's where I am with the audience for the Ibiza playlist. But obviously it's played way more in other places. But I mean, that's the kind of audience I'm trying to serve. I wish we were in a club kind of audience.
Well, yeah, it's one thing, you're never going to please everyone, so that's why it's important to know your audience as well. It's so funny that everyone tries to curate the best DJ set ever, or the best playlist ever, the best mixtape ever, and you're not going to please every single person. So it's it's really knowing your crowd. And I mean, for me, what drew me to you as a curator is that I knew exactly what to expect when I would go to your playlist or when you would send me a song, and I would know that it would be a deep, groovy vocal. It would instantly transport me to Ibiza or somewhere else in the world that I would very much like to be. And
a sunset somewhere.
Oh yeah. And it's funny how just the word, just sunset in Spain in summer, it's like, oh, beautiful. I know exactly what I want to hear if I'm watching sunset in Spain. Bring on some Cafe Del Mar vibes, bring on, it's and it's awesome. So those descriptions are really important, and obviously you've got your audience, and it's okay with you. I'd love to start talking about Simon Field, the curator.
Yeah, let's do.
And what I'm going to do, if it's okay, I'm going to just show my screen for a second here while we're chatting.
Yeah, do.
So this is Simon's epic playlist that he curates. This is on Spotify. And obviously the follower count, I'm not going to say because it's destined to change, but it's in the hundreds of thousands. And most importantly, the amount of active listeners on this playlist is very high as well, which is great to see. So not only are people hitting that follow button, but they're actually coming back and returning to this playlist and listening to it to the point where you're actually driving some great numbers for artists that are featured on here.
Yeah.
So what we're looking at this, I mean, I guess let's start at the beginning. At what point did you become more of a curator and put on the curator hat and create this playlist? And where did that start?
So it started about the same time as, I got my first artist record deal, more or less. Spotify asked people and artists to make their own playlists. And I thought, well, that's a bloody good idea. I don't have to put out a set every month. I can actually just curate the playlist, which saves me a lot of time. So I switched from making mixtapes to basically doing a playlist. And I think that was I didn't kind of consider that I was getting followers or anything. I was just calling it the mood that I wanted on this playlist, and that was definitely Ibiza. And all right, hello India. Sorry, just new to me, Mike. So Ibiza was definitely the kind of home for my music, and I wanted to make a home for my music as well, somewhere where I can put like a record shelf that was imaginary record shelf where I can put my own songs, and that was the whole idea. with this playlist, and it just developed from there. As soon as I started to see it was getting followers, it was really satisfying enough, up the focus a little, and I realized I got more followers, so I started to put a brand on it, put a image on it, and stuff like that, and also taking more care of the curation.
Yeah, and it's one thing that I've noticed is that it looks very clean as well. I mean, yes, we can talk about the music and the fact that the music works together. We already covered that it works well on shuffle, and all of the music flows nicely no matter what the order is that you listen to it. But the artwork as well, I mean, it just looks so clean, and it really does capture your attention. Was it intentional in the early stages to have artwork that would jump out, as you're scrolling through the thousands of playlists that offer a deep house?
Not at all. I think this image that I've used for this was kind of my image of actually one late afternoon in what's it called, Buddha Bar. Outside Buddha Bar, there are some cushions like that, and I thought, that looks just like that, and I'll use that. Obviously the font was bigger, and I've changed, kind of tuned it every year or something. And I think a year ago, I added a white frame to make it more clear. I've changed fonts every now and then, but it's more or less been like that from the start. And I've actually seen people copy the artwork as well, which is, I guess, is a compliment.
I'd say it's definitely a compliment. I mean, obviously, looking at what you've done, you've done it very well. So it would only make sense that people would take some inspiration from that. Let's word it that way. But you mentioned different fonts. Where I
mean, to be honest, I don't know Photoshop, so I actually use PowerPoint.
Okay. Wow.
So I've had different fonts through the years, but I think this is the one I like the most. It's the cleanest, simplest font, artwork wise.
That's really cool. I never heard of anybody using PowerPoint to create artwork. That is.
Well, why not? I use PowerPoint for everything.
You know what? It's really funny. It's
templates, and it's lovely.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, PowerPoint is all about having a presentation that people actually want to look at. So it makes sense. It's it's kind of like production. It doesn't matter what you're using as long as you know how to use it and you know how to create what you were looking to create.
True. So true.
All that matters is the end result.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. True. Very cool. So I hope I haven't been distracting you too much while we've been talking, but we're getting a lot of live comments coming in while we're chatting, which is fantastic. So I've been putting those up on the screen there as well. Great to see people tuning in from India, Palm Springs, all over the place, really. It's
nice.
It's good fun. So, we may actually do some questions and answers if we get some questions coming in here too.
Definitely.
Simon, I'm going to take a quick look here because we actually had some questions coming in on LinkedIn on the live stream as well. So let's see. We have one question here, which is, how does a songwriter get a placement? Now, obviously, that's a very long answer, but is there sort of any starting points, any resources that we could share?
So I assume you mean placement in my playlist, because everybody treats their submissions differently, I guess.
Yeah, you know what? Let's do both. Let's assume that it could be relating to what we were talking about earlier with film and TV sync. Wow. And then we'll also discuss your playlist and how people could potentially get music to you the right way. So stick around for that. But firstly, any advice that you could share for somebody that's never had a sync placement in film or TV, where they could start perhaps?
So as I mentioned before, my kind of way into sync was basically luck. or accident, or just being, open to the people I met and sent them songs. So I honestly don't know where people should go today to get their syncs done, or to get, how they should get connection. But I guess basically it's going to conferences, going to any sync meetings that you can pick up, or travel and meet people in industry everywhere you can. I travel a lot, and I travel for co-writes, I travel for gigs, I travel for seminars, I travel for anything, because it's basically being out there that makes the difference. So personal connections by far is the winner as far as sync is concerned.
Very cool. So yeah, and I just wanted to add to that as well. Let's say you don't have those connections where you have somebody that you can speak to directly. There are websites out there where you can go online, set up a profile, put your music up, set your price, and essentially this doesn't apply to all of these websites, and that's why I'm not going to start listing them. But there are websites where they don't make any money. You don't pay them a monthly fee, but they will come to you and say, hey, this studio is looking at using your song for this film. This is how much money you would get. This is how much cut we would take for organizing it. Do you agree? Done. And, let's just throw a number out there. They could say, hey, it's a $10,000 sync and we're going to take $2,500. You get $7,500. Do you agree? And if that's your first sync, you're probably going to go, hell yeah, I'll take it.
You know what? People are so afraid of giving away stuff because they don't think they're going to do any better songs later on.
Yeah.
And I think that's, if you can't do better songs than the latest song, you should get out of here. Literally. I mean, if you can't put the bar higher every time you do a song, you shouldn't be doing this, because that's the name of the game. At least in my opinion, when I listen back to stuff I've done 2 years ago, I would never done those choices, but I can hear that those choices are based on what I do now is based on the choices I've done then, and how that sounded and stuff. Yeah. Sorry,
that's perfect. And the second part of that question, once again, we're assuming the question was either about sync or about your playlist. So for the people that are tuned in that have a song that they feel would be a good fit for your playlist, let's give them some steps and tell them obviously what you're looking for, number one, and then how they could potentially get it to you.
Okay, so just a bit of background again. So one of the great things about running a playlist and collecting music that way is that you constantly look for new music, and you enjoy, at least I do enjoy that process of finding something that nobody else has found, or it doesn't matter really, but something that's unique. And I think that's one of the key thing with my playlist. I try to find something unique. If your track sounds like Kygo, I don't want to listen to it. If your track sounds like any other tropical house song, I really don't want to hear it. And to me, again, it's about uniqueness. And I think that kind of reflects a little in the playlist as well, that there are not two tracks that are the same. There are not many tracks that could go in this lean back playlist. I don't know if you're familiar with that track, Lean Back, but to me it's the kind of song you just want to go back and do other stuff to. I think the music should be slightly more aggressive and talk to people in a way. Obviously the genre that I'm in is kind of house, deep house land, so it's around 120 mark up to 128. If it's quicker than that, it's too quick for the playlist, and that's the kind of similarity as we talked before with a live set. I say very often, does this song help the playlist? I mean, does this song make the playlist any better? And if it doesn't, it probably won't get into the playlist. So that I get so I've set up a submission form through my Facebook, so anyone can submit and tell me, something about the song. That goes into an Excel form on Google, and I go in there once a week, more or less. Now, I get 200 submissions a week, and this is not my main kind of job, if you like. So the curation is honestly very quick. I probably spend a few seconds on every song, and what I do is first look at the title. If the title is not unique, I'd spend more time on it. If maybe the artwork is showing something unique, that can pull you in. And then I skip around the song to hear if what the song is about, and that's how much time I'll probably spend. I guess 5 seconds, 10 seconds. I don't know. It sounds like a very short amount of time, but it actually does not take more time to at least do the first filtering. So once I've done through all the songs, I put like 10 songs, 20 songs, depending on the submissions, into my inbox, my infamous inbox. and it might stay in that inbox for a week or two even, because that inbox is what I listen to when I drive, when I do other stuff, and then I find that I have more time that I can spend listening through the entire song and see what it's about. Do I feel it still? And if I do, I add it to a playlist. And if I don't, I just delete it again. So people ask for feedback. It's literally impossible to give feedback to everybody. It will just kill my week.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the short story of how tracks get into my playlist. There's definitely loads of people who come straight to my DM and pitch songs. And Mike, we could talk forever about those, because they are all shades of rudeness. And they assume that, you're sitting there doing just this, which you really don't. So what I'd normally do with people who contact me directly is reply with the submission link, so people can go and submit it. Like, thank you for sending me the song. Please submit your music here. And just imagine you're on a bus, or you're on a private conversation, you're at the dinner, and you see your Instagram is red light, got a number. You want to see what it is, and some people really get annoyed that I don't listen to it right away. I don't know, that's probably their world. That's where they come from. But please, consider the receiver and consider that I'm most likely not able to listen at that point, but I will.
Yeah. And, I'm glad you mentioned that, because one thing that we need to remember is that when you're sending that DM, especially, even more so than an email, you're going into that person's space, sometimes their personal profile.
Yeah.
You're not making money from curating this playlist.
Not at all.
You have a job. You have many things that you do outside of this. So and also with time zone differences, there's no way that it's very unlikely that somebody is going to send you a DM and get you at exactly the right time. So they need to know that, hey, when Simon comes back, this will be a short, sweet message for him. And I'm going to respect his space. I know what you mean. And I don't want to start talking about too much on the negatives, but obviously just keeping in mind that that person you're messaging is a real person. They have a bunch of other things going on. You don't know necessarily what's happening in their life at that exact moment either. So you just need to be careful of that. And most importantly, I'm sure you can speak to this as well, but when I get a message that I can tell somebody actually, it's personalized. So they've actually listened to the playlist first and they know that their song would be a good fit.
Yeah.
That really shows. And if they're right, then they've got my attention, and even if I don't necessarily place or do anything with that song, the way that they've approached and the fact that they've done their research, I'm more likely to check their next message sooner over that 200 others, of course.
I think a good sign is that don't put the fucking URL into the first message. I
Yes.
mean, it's as simple as that. Don't do that. Ask first, is it okay that I send you a song? And if that's the approach, it's more likely to get yes than that you just send a song. So get into the conversation.
Absolutely. It's I'm really glad you mentioned that. I'm glad you mentioned all of this. It's like talking into a mirror sometimes with a slightly different accent. But you know, exactly that. Some of the best interactions, because I mean, I submit music to independent third-party curators as well. And some of the best interactions have been a very short message where there's no link, just simply asking, is there a way that I can send you music? What's your process? And I'll happily follow it. People are so appreciative of that and so grateful. And the fact that they can come back to you and say, look, please don't send it to my email. My email is a mess. I ask everyone to do submissions from this form. And I listen to them in the order they're submitted. So if you stop what you're doing and submit right now, you're gonna hear from me. Well, you're gonna potentially see something sooner.
I'll tell you, Mike, how easy it is. So what I do, I take all the URIs from the submission forms, the Excel, and cut and paste that straight into a new playlist. And that takes all the tracks that are submitted into one playlist. So there's no cutting and pasting. I literally go through that playlist that are the 100 to 200 songs every week.
I think that's the best way. And like you said, you're listening to it in order. As long as they've included the correct link, most importantly, you're going to be able to hear it. If they don't give you the Spotify URI or a URL, then you're not necessarily going to hear it because it won't translate into that playlist for you to listen to.
True. We got more questions. Woohoo!
Yeah, you know, I do apologize if I pronounce your name incorrectly. I know we've spoken before, but I'm going to attempt here. So Dhruva has a question. Well, actually, there's a few questions here, Simon. There's one about what is the secret source of success for the UK and US music industry? And then the other part is I'm not going to attempt to speak to that about UK tourists storming the beach in Ibiza and migrating the music to there because I haven't spent enough time there to confidently speak on that. Would you like to talk to either of those questions, Simon?
I can take one approach, and it ties into the playlist. It ties into what I do. It ties into my music production.
Yeah.
And it's one kind of aha moment that I found when I actually I got some lessons, not lessons, but online course with Mike Monday. I can recommend doing that. It's going to open your eyes. So MikeMonday.com, I guess. So what he's teaching is that if your track is unique, you're going to have no competition. If your track sounds like something else, you're going to have so much competition you wish you should die. So, no, it's not that bad, but you get the idea. I mean, so the other thing is that if you try to sound like someone else, you will not succeed, and you're going to be so disappointed with yourself, and you're just going to be miserable. So my learning from that time is try to listen to yourself, work really quickly, get your ideas down quickly, because then your shoulder devil would not interrupt you, and you were not sending stuff via Facebook to people and say, can you listen to this? What do you think? No, trust yourself. When people send me mixes and stuff, they go, can you tell me what you think about this mix? And the only thing I can tell is that if you like it, that's the way it should be. So my point is trying to listen to yourself, because nobody's like you. If you listen to yourself and your own ideas, that's going to be unique. Nobody's thinking like you do, and that's how you're going to succeed. And that's honestly what's happened to my music the last year. All my BBC radio plays are from songs that I trusted myself, no one else, and I just pushed it through and said, this is how this song should be. Yeah, I've got A&R saying you might cut the intro and stuff, but that's not a vital part of the song. It's more, packaging. But point is trying to don't force uniqueness, but at least force listening to yourself rather than someone else. And if the kick drum is the way you like it, that's the way it should be. Makes sense, Mike?
Perfect.
I don't know if you answered the question, but I feel so strongly about it. And I feel the same way when I create my playlist. When I hear something unique, I go, yeah, there's a person behind it. There's an identity here. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, that's important as well. It's, you know, we've talked about numbers before, but on average, 40,000 songs getting uploaded just to Spotify every day. It's safe to say a large number of those are electronic songs. I don't want to say EDM because obviously I associate EDM with more of the heavy side of it, but the electronic songs and deep house or house music, there's going to be a significant number of that included in the mix. Yeah. You really do need to be unique. If the last thing you want is to listen to 200 deep house songs that all sound exactly the same. And those little things that you add in there that just make you unique and make you stand out.
Yeah, exactly. Uniqueness, please.
Yes. And diversity in general as a producer, what I love about your productions is that not every track is exactly the same. Not every track is 124 beats per minute and, a groovy beach house track. I mean, you've switched it up. You've done some stuff that I say this respectfully, almost crosses over into pop music as well.
Well, I come from the pop music side, so I love using. Obviously, I love using all those elements that you can in music production and music writing because I know how effective they are, and it really doesn't matter the genre to me. I try to force it in so I can play it in the club. That's my criteria for my own music. But I know that lyrical elements are so effective. In fact, so much that I believe that the title in any genre is the single most important thing in a song. And I can argue that for hours if you like. No, but seriously, that's the peak of the song. That's what you build up for. That's what you want people to remember. That's what you want people to type when they search your song on Spotify or YouTube or wherever. That's the name, the identity of the song. If the song is called I Love You, I've heard that before. I don't want to hear it again. So I mean, if there's a new way of saying something that people can relate to, that's a good title. And actually, many of my songs are written title first.
Wow. Even before you would bring on a singer-songwriter or there's any vocals of any kind, you've already got a song title.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that comes from, it's actually a country way of writing, but I love that sort of approach. I can tell you short why the brain's got two parts. One that create images, one that listen to music. To be unique in music is so hard, but to be unique in lyric is way easier, way easier. And if you manage to combine imagery and titles with your music, then you got a very strong connection.
Wow.
And that's any genre. I'm not A&R, but
what an interesting approach. That's so
different.
It's true though. It's a lot of people have argued recently that artwork isn't important anymore, and I say it's more important than ever because when I used to use artwork as a way of quickly scrolling down the charts to look for that artwork on the left-hand side because I could spot the artwork quicker than I could read the song titles. And it was a very manual process. Obviously, there's a lot of tools and services out there that can do that for you now, and we'll probably get to that shortly. But artwork was a way of standing out and quickly identifying your song visually. And also, I mean, if somebody with DJ promo as well, when you would get a track, the first thing that you would see when you would open that email or you would log in is you would see the artwork.
Yeah.
And that's before you even press play. So if the artwork is, it's, I've never avoided listening to a song because of the artwork, but it's definitely not getting my attention in the right way. I think artwork is important. And more importantly, I love seeing original artwork. If you feel that going and getting a royalty-free image for your artwork is clever and nobody else is doing it, go and get that royalty-free image, go to Google image search, upload it, and see how many people have used it and where. I mean, you'll be shocked. I went to do it one time with a release. I don't use royalty-free images anymore because of this. Uploaded the artwork, took a look. There would have been at least 10 songs within the same genre of music using that exact same artwork.
Was that a girl on the beach with the sunset, by the way?
Exactly. It's
no, but serious. I think you should use every kind of method possible to get people into the mood of the song as quickly as possible, to get them to get interest in your song, to get them to want to hear your song. And I got this in the face in a meeting with a A&R in LA, and I brought in a CD with 6 songs, and he went, "I want to hear that song."
Wow.
And that was just from title, and that was like a pop A&R. Now that song was called "Sleeping with the Light On." So obviously, what the fuck is this song about? So I mean, it's that sort of. I think you should even. I think I've read some interview with, I can't remember who it was, but with production, if there's a song about a theme, if the song is about wind, start with a bloody wind so you get people into that mood. Yeah. If it's about war, start with a fucking war drum or a trumpet or something. You know, something that sets the mood straight away. You don't have many seconds to get people into a mood. If the artwork helps people getting into the mood, do it.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny, you kind of mentioned what I wanted to touch on next as well, which is, you mentioned earlier, between 5 to 10 seconds is how long you could spend with a song before you know if it's worth listening any longer than that. You know, obviously, to talk about what I look for when I listen to a song, I press play and listen to the first 5 to 10 seconds, of course. But then I also skip to the middle. Yep. And then I also skip near the end as well. And if I like what I'm hearing in those sections, I'll go back and listen to the song in its entirety. You know, but most importantly, if that first 5-10 seconds there's silence at the start, or there's a long held note that doesn't really go anywhere, or they're talking, you be sure that it's probably not going to fit on a playlist that just music. Yeah. So while that might be cool on your album, you just need to remember that could be a reason why some people are skipping past your track instead of adding it. And as painful as that is to say, there are curators out there where you could give them a great track. They could love it, but you have a 10-second intro where it's somebody talking or something like that, and they just can't have that in the middle of their playlist, because people will leave that playlist, and then that means less listens for the rest of the artists on that playlist, and people may not come back to that playlist again.
So Mike, I went to a songwriter conference some years back, and there were about 1,000 people in the room. They screened music live in front of the audience and asked the audience to start clapping when they've heard enough.
Wow.
And that was really painful because most of the songs didn't even get to the vocal.
That's interesting. That's
So have a bunch of friends around, make a list of 200 songs. You're gonna have to get through that in 1 hour. Clap when you heard enough.
Well, I haven't clapped yet, Simon. No, it's that. It's funny. It's that's actually a really polite way of saying I'm done with this.
Yeah.
It reminds me of award shows where they start giving their speech and they start rambling on and on. The music starts fading up and the crowd just start clapping, and then the clapping overpowers them and they're off stage.
Yeah.
Imagine that happening with your song. Like you said, 5 seconds in, oh, 10 seconds in,
Yeah.
15, 20,
Really horrible.
that's it, it's out.
I mean, just imagine New Music Friday. You're on the bus, you got 10 minutes to get to work. You're skipping through New Music Friday to find some new music. That's the reality. And all the noise that's coming in through DMs, through wherever you are. If you don't get people right away, you miss them.
Exactly.
Thanks for the comment there, Druva.
Awesome. Yeah, we're getting a lot of great comments coming in. I've been monitoring the other chats as well.
Mm-hmm.
For anyone that is commenting on LinkedIn, I have to actually look at it on my phone here as well. So if I'm looking away, I'm not sending text. I'm actually monitoring the LinkedIn chat here as well. So we've got it all going on. But a lot of nice messages here. Vianney is en route to Barcelona. Great to hear from you. Vanita Moore says happy holidays. We've got Ruth Pollack. A few comments here as well. Not a DJ, not a vocalist, not an engineer, not a producer. Got news for me. Oh, you're a songwriter. Okay.
Excellent.
We can. You know what? We haven't really talked about songwriting that much.
Let's do that. In fact, we have. We've talked about titles. We talked about lyrics. We talked about melody. Actually, all that is songwriting.
That's true.
And I think, you know, that's where there's so many producers out there that are going, do you have any vocals around you can send me? I mean, hello. That's the most important thing of your song. Your track better be super unique, you know, if you're going to get someone to sing on it.
Yeah.
Or get Stormzy to rap on it, whatever. I mean, seriously, your track's going to be so crazy that something you never heard before. And it's likely not to be. Not to be rude, but it's not likely to be that. So I think, you know, focusing on the vocal, finding the right vocalist. I mean, if you hear a vocalist, look him or her up and travel to where he or she is, record with him or her, with your track. It's worth the investment. It's definitely worth the investment.
Yeah.
And as far as songwriters is concerned, obviously that's coming from the publisher side point of view, I guess, more. Also, you need to have the songs placed, but looking up people, traveling to their location and write with them. I mean, set up a session yourself. You know, bring in a vocalist you like that suits your style of writing, and look up a producer and do what you can to get in the same room. The internet's not going to save you there. It's going to save you in terms of finding those people, but not in terms of you know, selling your track across. I think so. At least you need a really good singer at least to sell the song. Why travel to the singer? Yeah, I agree with you. Hi, Thomas. I do that too as well. I pay for people to travel to my studio because I know that I work better here and more creative and more happy in my own environment, definitely. So any sort of combination you can do to get that session going in the same room is super valuable.
And Simon, Thomas actually added a second comment there, bring your studio to them, as a question. You know, if I could sort of make an assumption here, obviously I've seen pictures of your studio. I've seen videos of you working in there. Obviously, that's the master control center. It's a lot of equipment to be able to bring to the other side of the world, or even another city, even down the street. So would that be the reason why you would prefer to have them come there? Because everything is set up, you know how everything works, you've got it all there, you can get it done?
I definitely work faster on hardware synths because I know them so well, and I feel, you know, if I know the software that I'm bringing, I mean, I know all the native stuff, and I can make I can make good sounds on synth plugins that I know, but I'm so much more comfortable with my own gear. I know how the preamp on the mic works, and I know, you know, the sweet points of the room. and most of all, I got a really lovely room to work in, and not many places that I go have that. So
Yeah.
and also, I mean, for me to travel to a session in London, I need to stay in a hotel. For me to fly a singer here is cheaper because I've got guest rooms and stuff they can stay at. So in a way, it's, yeah, fly the singer here.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I'm sure that you would get some time to show them around as well. I mean, it looks like a beautiful part of the world. So
exactly, it's an exotic thing to do instead of just staying home.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, studios, they're expensive. They charge you by the hour, and then you probably got to go out and buy lunch. You got to eat away from the studio because most studios won't let you sit in there and eat and keep working. All of that adds up, like you said, accommodation and travel. Whereas if you go fly over here, you've got a place to stay, home cooked meal maybe, you know, and then when we're done, we can go down the road. I know a great spot where we can have a pint. How could you say no to that? I mean, I'm starting to think I need to take singing lessons so I can start working with you.
And Mike, great. Something, you know, that'd be fun. You know that. We had so much fun.
Cool. So while we were chatting, we had a few more comments come in. I'm just reading them off of LinkedIn here. So I can't put the LinkedIn comments up on the screen. So Luke gave us a shout out. Happy New Year.
Hi, Luke.
Happy New Year to you as well, Luke. On LinkedIn, we've got Lacey Darrell Phillips. Greetings from New York City, the Uncle Earl. And he's got like a little dancing disco man. Yep, you got it. You know, but it is. You can't see my arms. That's probably a good thing. And then we've got Michael Lukeski. Hello from Northeast Pennsylvania.
Wow.
Fantastic. Mass Dialect put a question in here for you, Simon. We may have covered this, but let me just read it out. Any advice on submitting or where? I have features from Grammy-nominated artists and opened for mainstream artists and have celebrities and labels all over my Instagram, yet I still find myself being underground. Interesting. So unsigned artist considers himself underground, but has features from Grammy-nominated artists, open for mainstream artists, and has celebrities and labels all over the Instagram. So that's I mean, you're doing something right there for sure. Like,
got people's attention, and people are expecting something from you. I would say don't change your music.
Yeah.
I'd say just put out more stuff because there are people expecting you. There are people waiting for your music. Just put out more stuff. There seems to be kind of rule of thumb for at least for those success cases I've studied is that they do a release every 6 to 8 weeks, which is pretty frequent.
Yeah.
But if you get into that continuous flow of releasing music, people are going to expect, you know, you're going to build a momentum of some sort, and obviously because all these people are following you, they just haven't seen the right connection yet. They haven't seen that. They might not seen yet that you've got a consistency. They like what they've seen so far. They want to see more, and the more hype you can manage to create, the more the higher the advance will be when somebody signs you, which is a good thing, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, the way I look at it right now, you know, adding to what we said before, by the way, the name on LinkedIn was Mass Dialect, for anyone that wants to take a look as well. But similar to what you said, if you're unique, people are noticing you. So exactly. It's never an overnight thing. And if it is, most people aren't ready for overnight success. And overnight success is 10 years in the making. You know, there's artists out there that sort of one example, Lizzo, who blew up this year and everyone goes, oh, overnight success, you know, truth hurts, you know, went viral on TikTok and this and that. You know, Lizzo has been awesome on social media with sharing the story and saying, you know, X amount of years ago, I was living in my car, paycheck to paycheck. I just had enough money to eat some days, and I never gave up on music. I was still creating music and putting it out. And eventually one song clicked and I had all this other music that I'd been doing, and I got better with each release. And she stayed unique.
Yeah.
There's not many people out there that sound like Lizzo, and that's what's important. And it doesn't matter what genre you consider yourself to be in. It's it has to be.
I guess that's the same with mass dialect, was it?
Yeah.
There's something that people get attracted to, and that's normally uniqueness. Obviously boobs, but more often uniqueness than boobs.
I love it. You're so cheeky. You know what? We had a list of questions here. I just noticed there's more comments coming in though as well. Actually, Mass Dialect is a hip hop artist.
Oh, cool.
Mostly in need of representation and trouble getting my music to the right ears. And like what we just said, you've obviously got something that is getting some of the attention. If people are paying attention to you on LinkedIn, I mean, just a couple of ideas here. This tends to work for anyone on LinkedIn, not just in the music industry, but just in general. When somebody follows you on Instagram. We're talking about Instagram. So somebody follows you on Instagram for whatever reason. They're not a bot. They're a real person. You've looked at their profile. Go and hit the direct message button and spend 10 seconds and record a personal video that goes direct message to them and just say, hey, Simon Field, I appreciate you following me. I see you're from Norway. What's it like there this time of year? Anyway, just wanted to say thank you. I appreciate you. I make music. Have a great day. Simon opens that up. Simon's already followed you and gets a personal message that took you 10 seconds to do. Yeah. That may open up a conversation. And Simon doesn't necessarily curate hip-hop music, but it could be enough that he may know somebody that does, and you may get his attention. Yeah. So if you've got a lot of eyes on that, use it. You can direct message people on there.
You can, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'm not active on LinkedIn, by the way, but yeah, hell, do that stuff.
Yeah, look, LinkedIn does work as well. Wherever it's big for you, wherever people are paying attention, use that. I mean, Twitter, you can DM. LinkedIn, you can message. You can use InMail if you're not connected and you want to pay to connect with them. Facebook, the list goes on.
Yeah.
Wow, we got more people tuned in here as well. What have we got? We've got Maya, hello from Cleveland, Ohio. And then Mass Dialects just actually added, I've been doing this for 10 years, but more serious for the last 4 years. Thanks. So there we go. Exactly like we said, it's never overnight.
I'd say
working up to this for a long time.
I'd say for that project, which is very typical for hip hop, is get as many collabs as you can. Yeah. Get your name out as many places as you can. This collabs are easy entry level way to get onto a release. So that might be also one option for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? What I wanted to mention about those collabs is main artist versus featured artist when you collab with somebody.
Yeah.
What's your take on that? I mean, we know my opinion. I've put it out there many times. But if you collaborate with somebody, where would you prefer they be? Let's say it's the other way around. Let's say you came to my studio and collaborated with me on a track. Would you want to be a main artist or a featured artist?
So there are two things in here. Firstly, I would agree on it before going there.
Yes. Absolutely. It's a lot easier to negotiate a percentage of 0 than it is to negotiate a percentage of a track that's been made.
Yeah. Also, it depending on what track we're going to do. If that would be a typical Simon Field track and it would help my profile and career, I would definitely have my name among the main artists. First or second doesn't really matter. But definitely not featuring, because I think features are normally a reserved space for singers. At least I'm a bit old school there, but if a singer is not part of the project normally or part of that musical style or whatever, it should be a feature. Otherwise it's a collab maybe. I don't know. It's case by case.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. If Okay, let's say you're a acoustic guitarist and you play on one of Simon's deep house tracks and you're tagged as a main artist. You may find that your fans also like, or your related artist section starts to change, and it's very different from the rest of the music that you put out. So that may be a time where you don't want to be necessarily. Yes, you get a boost in monthly listeners. Yes, it shows as a new release on your profile. Yes, it will go into release radar for your followers if you submit it in Spotify for artists early enough. But you may confuse your followers if you are purely acoustic guitarist and you collaborated with a deep house producer. Yeah. But you know, if I did a track with you, Simon, and it was similar to your style and we were both main artists, I would see that as a win-win because of the fact that the track shows on both of our profiles to both of our audiences. We have extra opportunities at Release Radar. Not only that, but you're located in a different part of the world, so you could potentially get it in front of other ears for editorial versus what I could do here. So there's a number of reasons why a main artist is a good thing. But like you said, if you're from two very different genres and you've collaborated, you may want to consider just being a featured artist. So you're still credited on there, but it's not telling everyone, hey, this is a new track from this artist, and confusing your followers.
I see there's a question from Dhruva again. Maybe we should answer it because I want to say something around that. So timing is everything. Well, it's definitely one factor, but it's a huge one. And one thing I really want to say is don't start sending your tracks to big curators on a Friday. That's the worst possible day, at least for me it is. It starts about 12:15 on a Thursday, and you get lots of people say, oh, I've got a new track out, listen to this and listen to this and listen to this. And guess where I'm at that point? The last thing I want to hear is people's new releases. I'm probably in the studio at that point or about to go to bed. Friday is even worse because those people who sent on Thursday night are back in again. Did you hear it? Did you hear it? Did you hear it? So for me, the best time to get a song is Sunday or Monday, actually. Monday is really nice, Monday morning, if you're up that early. But at least that's my point of view. So holidays are good, but if you think they are away on holiday, that email is going to go way down in the email box by the time they get to the email. So if you can wait to a workday Monday morning, that's probably the best timing you can do.
Yeah, that's perfect. And you know, just to add to that, a lot of email programs out there, one example, Gmail, will let you choose when you would like that email to send. So let's say, Simon, I have a track. It's just came out. I'm excited. I've got the link. I write you a nice email. Just as an example, I know that you don't want direct emails, but just, you know, I have permission to send you an email with this song for some reason, and I want to make sure that you get it. I could schedule it so that it sends on Monday morning at the right time. And that's what I've done with curators who do like to get songs by email. I'll have a nicely composed email with exactly what they're looking for in there, and I'll schedule it to send at a time that I know works for them. So I know, like you said, Friday is a crazy time to, especially with somebody that you haven't necessarily spoken with before, unless they're waiting for a link to that track. Let them take care of everything else that goes on Friday and then hit them the week after. But yeah, I always find early in the week, Monday, Tuesday is a good time.
Yeah. It's also about finding less competition. So whenever you can find a spot where you have less competition, go for that. And Friday is horrible.
Yeah. Well, that's it. And, you know, I mean, looking at the labels and friends at labels and the way that they work, you don't call them on a Friday. They're sitting there. They've been working like crazy in the lead up to that release. I mean, the work goes in weeks, months before that release comes out. But the day that song comes out, on a Friday, they're sitting there, they're watching, where did it get placed? Is it charting anywhere yet? How's it being received? Is it, people sharing on socials? Have radio started playing it yet? They're worried about all of that. And, it's the same with curators. They've got day jobs. They're trying to wrap up on Friday for the week. They're trying to get everything else done. They may listen to music early next week because it's a little quieter where they work. Yeah. So I have a spreadsheet where I keep track. So I know, don't submit music to this person on Friday because they don't want to do it. They listen to submissions on Sunday. So I'll go, great. I'll make sure I get it to them Sunday morning. And you start to realize this when you go back to your email history, and it will show you the day of the week that they responded to all those emails previously. So you go, they've been replying on Wednesdays and telling me they placed it. And when I have a look at Spot on Track or Chartmetric or Spotify for Artists, I can see that it was placed on a Wednesday is when they do most of their placements. So I'm going to keep note of that.
Yeah. So maybe, I don't know how much time we got, Mike, but I kind of wanted to touch on some more curation stuff that's worth, maybe as a wrap up or something. And I think it comes back to what I've learned from creating my own playlist. So the fact that you're on a daily or weekly basis skipping through 100 songs to see if they fit together, to see what sort of void you have in the playlist, has been really, really helpful for me. Also listening to new music every week, to figure out where my music fits in this musical landscape, what's new, what are the new artists doing, what's coming up on New Music Friday, what are they actually picking up, what are Spotify picking up on their playlist, to get an idea of how the musical landscape is changing and what other people are doing. And I think that's one thing that producers and musicians don't do enough of, is listening. So, as your weekly listening routine, you should definitely spend a few hours just listening to music and try to maybe curate that into some sort of playlist of your favorites, and then try to listen through that playlist every once in a week and see what it feels like, because that is your identity. That's where your song's going to fit as well. And that's how it's been for me. I've learned so much, and I found so many favorite artists and tracks that way, and picked up so many productions ideas, and picked up so many things that I should not do in my songs because everybody else is doing it. And I think, the listening part is just so underrated with people. They don't listen enough to music, and try to analyze what's going on. How many seconds before the vocal starts? How much vocal is there? Are we still using bridges? What sort of titles are people using these days? My favorite issue. But definitely, what is the driving factor of a song? And obviously, to me, it's normally the vocal and the title. If that's the case with the kind of music you're doing, go find an excellent vocal. The vocalist is going to sell the song for you easily. And if it's a good song, it's going to make lots of money. So I haven't written a good song yet, but never mind.
I don't know if you're just trying to be humble or if you actually believe that, but
I'm getting better at it.
Yeah, look, well, that's the thing. We're always getting better, and we always learn with each release, not just on the production side, but also how we promote that song, how we tell people about it, lead times, all of that stuff. I'm always learning. So, and I'm really grateful that you've been so open today and shared so much about this. I mean, some of the things that you shared, like even the artwork and how important the song title is. I mean, I never imagined that if I went up to somebody with a 6-track EP, they would look at the song name and go, I want to listen to that one. It's
they do subconsciously.
Yeah. It's so true though, because the first time that you get a song, you get a link with a name attached to it and maybe the artwork, depending on how you receive it. And that's all you have to go off before you actually press play. So that's your first impression before people even listen to the song is the title and the artwork.
Yeah.
Which is mind-blowing because...
And the artist name, mind you.
Yeah. It's funny because I always used to say, oh, let the music speak for itself. And then I realized that
it does.
No, and the way it is now, I mean, we're sharing music on social media. People are going on Instagram and posting just the artwork. I mean, that people are even announcing song titles and track lists for an album as a series of posts on Instagram.
Yeah.
So you really do need to be paying attention to that and make sure it looks good and make sure that people would like to take a listen. Do you have any examples of a song title that made you just say, I mean, we could go either way here. Let's share one that made you say, yes, I want to listen to this. And maybe if you have one that made you feel like you kind of wanted to just skip over it.
Well, that it takes me back into songs that I've, reacted upon because of the title, and it might have been pre-playlist time and pre-Spotify, but I mean, it goes all the way back to It's Getting Hot in Here. I don't remember the rest of the song, but I love the fucking title. It's fantastic.
And it was spelled incorrectly. Nelly, Hot in Here.
Yeah.
That's the song you're talking about. It actually has 2 R's.
That doesn't matter. I mean,
but that blew my mind because it's funny. The title is great, but also the fact that there was a spelling mistake on there that I saw. I don't know. Obviously, it had to be intentional, or somebody would pick it up.
Yeah, and one other case was Labyrinth's Earthquake. You remember that one?
No.
Well, that also was a kind of title, Earthquake, and you go, "Fuck, this must be." I mean, if you're gonna call a song Earthquake, it's better be fucking Earthquake.
Yeah, it better be epic.
I mean, that's the sort of level. There are not many songs that come along, with good titles. But I like when I do get songs for collabs as well. I often select. I mean, it's easy to see what's the unique one, and if the title is strong enough, at least in house music, that's all you need. You don't need a verse. You can just repeat the title for 6 minutes, easy. If it's strong. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, Simon, we definitely could chat all day, but before we wrap this up, is there anything else that you would like to cover? Anything else that you would like to share?
No, we've covered a lot.
I'm looking at my list here of all the talking points, and I'm impressed because I haven't been checking it much as we've been doing this, and we seem to have covered all of it.
Yeah, but I think as a wrap up of whatever we want to call it, at least for my curation and for my own songwriting, it's title first. The singer must sell the song. It must sound like something she's or he's selling. It's like, does the singer sell the song? And I think third or fourth is where the production comes in, because it's so hard to be unique on that part. It's I mean, even Cola wasn't a unique song. It was a unique title.
Yeah.
Because the whole Beatport chart was like that at that point on the tech house part of Beatport. So the production was not very unique, but they got really, really lucky with that collab with with the on Cola, and I think that kind of sold the song because of the uniqueness of the top line, definitely, because the track was really nice. I mean, it's a fabulous track, no doubt about it. But there were 100 others equally good in the tech house top 100 on Beatport. Still is.
Absolutely. Completely agree. So
yeah, in that order: title, vocal, production.
Title, vocal, production. Fantastic. Where can people follow you? Where can people find your music? Obviously, Simon Field, it's spelt exactly as it sounds. But where else can people find you, Simon?
I'm active on Instagram.
Yeah.
I am active on Twitter, but I think Instagram will be the most active channel where I am, and I hope most people are there. You can chat to me on Twitter. I love to reply to questions on Twitter. Feel free. I'm on Facebook, but I've been struggling trying to get engagement on Facebook, so I'm not too active there. It's been more like a homepage at the moment. And where I run my ads from, which is also something you have to do when you run playlists and an artist. You have to run ads all the time.
Oh, yes.
So I'd say Instagram, and do feel free to listen to the playlist and give me any feedback you like. Obviously, positive is nice to have. Pitches, you can go through the form. There's a link on my Facebook page, on the About page on Facebook, where you can go and click and submit music. I listen to everything. Even yours, Mike.
That almost sounded like an insult, Simon.
Oh, no.
No, look, I know that you listen because I see, I know this sounds very stalkerish, but in Spotify, you can see your friends' feed and you can see when they're listening to music. And I see how active you are and how frequently you are listening. And it's really nice to see that and to know that you're cycling through all those songs. But most importantly, I know that if I follow your playlists, as I do, that only the best of the best as far as what fits within that playlist will make it in. I mean, I've sent you music that you haven't added, and that just shows how strong you are as a curator and how much more I appreciate that than you just saying, oh, Mike's a mate, I feel like I need to add him. You know, I respect you so much more because of the fact that you only place music that will fit, regardless of if you know the next big artist sends it to you or your friend who lives down the street. You know, only music that fits within that curation will be added. And that's how it really needs to be with all curators. And when you're submitting to a curator, keep that in mind, that if your song doesn't fit, the next one might, but respect the curation, respect the process, and know that by them saying no to you, that makes them a stronger curator. So if you do get your song added in future, you're going to value that placement so much more because you know that it's a good fit and people enjoy that and they listen. And that was my TED Talk. Cool. Well, Simon, I think we're going to wrap it up right now, but after this, I might jump into the comments as well because I see that they're going to still keep rocking. We're going to leave these replays up. As mentioned, this will also be available in podcast form within the next few days. So you can also listen to the Streamline podcast on your favorite podcast service, or you can rewatch this video if you want to see Simon's beautiful face.
And Mike's beautiful face.
Okay, this is just getting too cute now. Simon, thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate it. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. If we don't get the opportunity to connect again before, Happy New Year.
And you shall we speak in the new year for sure. Definitely.
Definitely. And thank you, Simon.
Thanks for all the guys tuning in. Thanks for all the questions as well. It's been great.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cheers,
Bye,
guys.
everyone.
Bye.